Phew, what a scorcher. Temperatures are expected to rise to 33 degrees in some parts of the UK this weekend, which ought to be a cause for celebration. But of course, the authorities are out warning us about dehydration, sunscreen and, bizarrely, a directive to keep kids inside. Here's the story. UK weather. Parents warned to keep children indoors during 33-degree heat as health alert is issued. Now, does that have a familiar ring to it? Keep kids indoors, health alert. And what a strange choice of words that is. Parents are warned to keep kids inside. Meanwhile, cue media hysteria for a rise in COVID cases. Upwards of 2 million people now have the virus, 1 in 25 people in England alone. Not fun for many, I'll grant you. It can be a horrible bug. But if it was a real problem, we'd know about it. What we do know is that Omicron is milder than Delia Smith's recipe for chicken tikka masala. And it ain't going away. COVID will be with us forever. But it hasn't stopped the COVID zealots, high-profile media figures, scientists and medics who walked us into hell from resurfacing with calls for social distancing, masking and ventilation everywhere. We've never done that for flu, so why should we do it for a bug that poses a similar, if not a lesser threat? But it doesn't stop there. There are stories floating around in the press today suggesting that we may have power cuts this winter. So the government are proposing that we are discouraged from cooking. That's right, discouraged from cooking or putting on the kettle during peak hours. So they're effectively saying don't cook dinner or make a brew between 6 and 8 p.m. And of course, they will effectively decide the temperature at which you warm your house as well and when. The iron grip of the state knows no bounds and has only one mode. It tightens. So let's just summarise. It's time to bring back masks, it's time to lock up kids again, and it's time for the authorities to decide when you have a cup of tea. Do you see what we've done? By letting the powers that be dictate our lives for 2 years, aided and abetted by a cheerleading media, the template of control has been set. Now, I'm not suggesting that we leave our kids out in the blazing sun all day, but I think you'll find that throughout human history, parents and children themselves have judged the risk of a hot day. They've always been able to do that. But we're now in the grip of such nanny state safetyism that rather than common sense and personal choice, everything is now down to government diktat. And of course, if we don't heed the said advice, it will doubtless eventually become a mandate. We saw that with masking early in the pandemic. It was up to you, and it was just advised at first how things changed. The script is always the same. What starts as a suggestion always becomes an instruction. Britain is fast descending into being a health and safety hellhole. Risk, danger and peril, the very essence of life, are now modelled, projected, characterised and controlled by our masters. For the best part of 2 years, even your income was the responsibility of the state via furlough. A dangerous precedent, establishing the idea that an income and a safe existence is the sole responsibility of government. It's not. It's the government's job to police the streets, to defend our borders, to provide schooling, clean water, welfare, to take care of us in illness, and to empty the bins once a week. And a few other bits and bobs. That is where their role should stop. The recent unprecedented land grab of our liberties has left us with a poorer, angrier and more divided society, and has left us with a proportion of the population who are now cowering in fear. Scores of people still insisting on working from home because of the so-called threat of COVID. Truly insane nutters walking around outside masked. And zero COVID zealots on Twitter, amplified by the media, clamouring that COVID's not over and that we must once again stop this virus. Talk of stopping the virus is a sick joke for the tens of millions of people now struggling in their lives because of the failed measures to do just that. The only metaphor I can give you for lockdowns and mothballing the economy for 2 years is that it's akin to burning your house down because you have mice. What's the result? Your house is in ashes and the mice survived. So-called public health experts have devastated public health by shutting down the NHS, creating a waiting list that may reach 12 million. Expert modelers predicted Armageddon from the virus. It never happened. And thick-as-pig economists said that printing billions and borrowing money was harmless and effectively cost-neutral, except that we now have diabolical inflation, eye-watering debt, which of course your kids and mine will have to sort out, and a cost of living crisis, which is in fact a cost of lockdown crisis. In the end, we've got to push back on all of these hellish so-called public health measures, whether it's to do with sunny days, when you have a cuppa, or a resurgence in COVID numbers. In short, it's time for the government to get out of our lives. Above and beyond following the actual laws of this country and paying our taxes, we should be able to do what the hell we want. Otherwise, we've got no right calling ourselves a free society. Remember that great line from former US President Ronald Reagan. He said the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." The pandemic was the worst advert for a big state in history. They bossed us around, they got so much wrong, and we're now paying the economic, societal and health price. I know it's an old-fashioned idea, but it's time to once again put the people in charge. GB News is the people's channel, and I will do everything I can on my own show to remind you that you're the boss, because after all, you know best. So, too early for a cup of tea? Cheers.